I'm Jeff Philbin, and your dilemma over what to have for dinner just got solved, if you stay tuned. Today, fresh fall flavors as we make a roast pumpkin puree, which we blend into risotto, plus Fresno pickles and pan-seared squash and Brussels. My guest today has been celebrating the season with an ever-evolving menu at his celebrated St. Pete restaurant, Il Ritorno, for over a decade. And it's a return visit to the Dinner DeeAs kitchen with Chef David Laser Benstock. My friend, so good to have you back inside the Dinner DeeAs kitchen right now.
Great to be here.
Last time that you were with us, you shared something from the home kitchen, a dish that you and your son Ethan make together, the grouper olive and gold, which was out of this world fantastic. It was grouper with pasta and clams, which is still available to watch and grab the recipe for at dinnerdeas.com. But today, we're not doing the seafood, we're not doing the wash, we're not doing spring light flavors. We're getting into all of the beauties of fall. We're doing a beautiful roast pumpkin puree, risotto, Fresno pickles, pan-seared squash and Brussels. You think we're gonna have all the time to do this?
Yeah, we're gonna try. I'm super excited for it.
I am super excited to do this. Where do we get started first?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a kabocha squash, which is actually known as a Japanese pumpkin also. One of my favorite pumpkin squashes to work with during the fall.
Now, where does one find one? What are you looking for? How do you know that you're getting a good one?
Yeah, so these come into season about now during fall, and they'll get more green as the season goes on. And once they get to like a really dark green, you know, it's really ripe and nice.
Okay.
You can find them at Publix. You can find them at most grocery stores during the season, but during off season, they're not going to be there.
Now, what's the taste like in comparison to what you might find, like where they're more like an orange squash? Like, what are you tasting for? What's the difference?
Yeah, good question. They're really, really sweet and almost have like a natural nuttiness to them that I really like using during the fall.
Right on.
Yeah.
So all these flavors just really go well together here.
Yeah, so it is a pretty thick pumpkin, so you have to get your knife in there and you just kind of work your way around in a circle.
Okay.
Hopefully you have a sharp knife.
And all you're doing is just using the shape of the squash to really roll it around, the knife to just kind of start dragging it through the middle, so that way then you can just open it straight through.
Boom.
Okay.
Now you got to open, right? And as it gets later in season, just like any other vegetables, it'll get a little bit more orange, a little sweeter. But what we're going to do first is we're going to scoop all these seeds out. Now we're not going to use these seeds in this dish right here, but it's something that's great to use. You could clean them off, use them with a little olive oil, salt, pepper, even cayenne, smoked paprika, and roast in the oven to get some nice roasted pumpkin seeds.
Nice.
Yeah, so getting those out. Got one more.
It's fun for you as a chef to play with the seasons?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So fall and spring are two of our favorite seasons. They're just so opposite from each other. We get really excited when fall comes into season, and you know, a little bit more caramelization in your food, a little bit more roasting, some heartier foods that you get to work with than you would during spring and summer.
I love it. And the techniques change too.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely,
it's just like, let's get into roasting.
Yeah,
and
the
like
braises,
absolutely,
you know,
it's more flavors that just fill the
celery
home.
root, carrots, parsnips, all the good stuff.
It's the good stuff.
So a little bit of olive oil over the top.
Okay.
All right. And then we're just going to take our salt and pepper, sprinkle it over. You can go heavy with it. It is a big squash, so you want to make sure you're seasoning it properly. A little bit of pepper. All right, I'm going to have you throw this in the oven.
I got you. Now this is going to go into the oven for how long?
About 30-40 minutes.
Okay.
350 degrees, depending on your oven. If your oven runs a little bit colder, then I recommend probably 375.
Perfect. To grab the recipe for Chef David's dishes, head to our website, dinnerdeas.com. We have everything you need, the ingredients, the amounts, and the directions all ready to print. Or you can read along on your phone. Just scan the QR code in the corner of the screen. So while we've got everything roasting in the oven, what do we need to do next?
Awesome. So now we're going to pickle some Fresno chilies. Fresno chilies are great. You know, sometimes they're a little bit spicier than jalapenos, sometimes not. It kind of depends on the chili. But to the risotto, that's nice and sweet and acidic, this is going to add a really nice heat. So we're just going to slice these up real nice, you know, kind of keeping them as rounds.
And you like to keep the seeds in for this one here?
Yep, we're going to keep it in. We really want this to add some good spice to it.
Very cool.
All right, so I have these. We're gonna throw those in there, and while we're slicing those, we're gonna get our water and vinegar going. Now, so this, whenever I do a pickle, I do 2 parts vinegar to 1 part water. All right, then we're gonna add a little salt in there for seasoning to it, and you can kind of go crazy with pickles. You know, you could add garlic, you could add thyme, you could add sugar. In this aspect, we're gonna use a little bit of honey.
Okay.
Which is gonna give it a nice sweetness and go really well with our fall flavors. So
Very nice.
add some honey in there, and that'll help balance out these pickles.
And with the vinegar, any type of particular vinegar that you like to use for this?
So for this specifically, just because it's spicy and it's pretty straightforward, I use a white vinegar.
Okay.
But for other things, you can use cider vinegar, red wine vinegar, all types of different.
And that would change a little bit of the profile. Would it tone it down a little bit? Sweeter in some cases?
It would tone it down a little bit. So the white vinegar is pretty intense, so that's why we use it with the Fresno chilies.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
So now we're gonna let that come to a boil.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we finish up our pickles and Chef David shares his secrets to a great risotto ahead on Dinner DeeAs. Welcome back to Dinner DeeAs. Chef David Laser Benstock is with us today from modern Italian restaurant Il Ritorno in St. Pete. He's sharing a dish that he's created to celebrate the beautiful season of bringing together some of the best of fall flavors. Roast pumpkin puree, risotto, Fresno pickles, and pan-seared squash and Brussels. Before the break, we have the Japanese pumpkin, which is Chef David's. That's your favorite.
That's my favorite.
I loved it. We scooped out the seeds, drizzled a little olive oil, added salt and pepper, put it into the oven while we got started on these beautiful Fresno pickles. We sliced up our Fresno peppers, even keeping the seeds, then combining water, vinegar, and a little honey, which we brought to a boil, but it's not done yet.
Not done yet.
Okay.
So this is where the pickling starts. So we're gonna take this boiling liquid, and we're gonna pour it over the Fresno chilies.
Okay.
All right, so it's hot right now, and that liquid's gonna go into the refrigerator, and we're just gonna let that sit. You know, I like to wait 2 days to start using them, but if you need to, you can start using them in an hour or 2.
So upwards of 2 days.
Yep, and so those Fresno pickles, those are gonna last months and months. I mean, probably 8-10 months till they're still gonna stay good. So you can just throw them in your fridge and you got magic tricks for the rest of the year.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Now, this gives us the chance to start playing with risotto.
Yep, so whenever you're making risotto, you're gonna start with your olive oil. All right. And then you're gonna put in, I like to use shallots, and some garlic. And we're just gonna get that going. Let that cook until they're about translucent. Now, one of the things about risotto is once you start it, you put it on high heat and you don't stop the high heat. It has to be high heat the entire time when you add your liquid, everything, and that helps bring out the natural gluten and makes it nice and creamy without having to throw in like mounds and mounds of butter or cream, and it just brings out the natural creaminess in it. So we're gonna let this cook off slowly.
To make those pickles, this risotto, and the rest of this perfect pumpkin platter for your dinner tonight, grab the recipes at dinnerdeas.com. All the amounts, ingredients, and directions are there, and it's ready for you to print. Just scan the QR code to get there. The smells already. The shallots and the garlic coming together. Absolutely beautiful. So what do we have to add in next?
Yeah, so next we're gonna add our risotto. And for the risotto rice, you can use arborio, carnaroli. Some grocery stores will have different ones. So when you throw that in, you wanna toast your rice. That's the first thing you wanna do before adding any liquid. And there's a little bit of seasoning that'll go into that. Just
now, when you say toasting it, though, like breaking that down for us, what are we looking for? Should it be a change in color? Should it be?
So I got a trick for you.
Okay, we love tricks over here on Dinner DeeAs.
So this is something I learned when I was cooking in Italy, and if you can hold the rice in your hand for 5 seconds, it's not toasted enough. So we're gonna take this rice. I can put it in my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope, it's not done yet.
Not done yet.
All right. When it burns you,
that's when you know. That's when you know.
That's when you know.
So like, do you get like an ice pack in one hand and then like the risotto in the other, and like swap it out?
We got tough hands.
Okay, well, I mean,
we're used to that.
They're not doing that part.
Yeah. So you probably want to let it go about 45 seconds to a minute. You want that to get a nice toast scent to it, but you don't want it to actually like burn or caramelize it. So now that we have that going, we're gonna add our white wine.
Okay.
All right. You can hear it go in there. It's great. And once we add that from this point on, it has to boil the entire time. So that's why we have our vegetable stock right here boiling. And you can use chicken stock. I like vegetable stock because it's a little bit milder.
Okay.
And it's a vegetarian dish, so it's going perfect with
This is exactly, I mean, there's like no meats, there's nothing there. So, I mean, you're keeping it in theme too with what you have for your stock. So
Exactly. So that's going to complement this really nicely. So we're going to take this white wine, which is cooking it now, and we want that to reduce down till it's dry. We want that to completely absorb in the rice, cook off any alcohol before we start adding the stock to it.
Well, while we keep an eye on the risotto, you guys can take a break. We got this covered over here. When we come back, Chef David's tricks to searing sprouts ahead on Dinner DeeAs. Welcome back to Dinner DeeAs. We're having fun with fall flavors today, thanks to our guest, Chef David Laser Benstock from St. Pete's Il Ritorno restaurant. He's making roast pumpkin puree, risotto, Fresno pickles, and pan-seared squash and Brussels. Before the break, we covered our chilies with the boiling water, vinegar, and honey, then put them in the fridge to pickle. Then we got started on our risotto, sauteing garlic and shallots in oil, then toasting our risotto rice and adding white wine until all the liquid is absorbed. Then hot vegetable stock, half a cup at a time, and stirring all the way along. But now the pumpkin we roasted in the oven earlier is finally ready and looking good.
Yeah, so they're nice and caramelized now. It looks like fall.
It just absolutely screams
Gets me excited. So what we're going to do is, if it's nice and tender, it should scoop out just like that. Really easy. You shouldn't have to fight it. Don't worry about not putting in the caramelized pieces. That's giving you all your flavor in there. So all that squash, you're going to want in there. All right. So now that we have that, we're just going to add a little bit of water to this to get it to puree. Water goes in there. Now the magic happens. Perfect. And now we got a really beautiful roasted squash puree. And so we're just going to take this and we're going to finish the risotto for us. It's going to add a really nice, bright, vibrant color, and it's going to add so much fall flavor to this.
You know, because you think about risotto, you think that it's the labor of love, it's 30 minutes of stirring. But there's so many ways that you can be able to take that and have so many different directions.
You know, that's my favorite thing about risotto is that you can use any season, any vegetable, meat, and you could literally use whatever is in your refrigerator and top it on top of your risotto.
I love that.
So now, got that in there.
To make this for your dinner before your children carve a face into the pumpkin, grab the recipe at dinnerdeas.com. You can follow along right now on your phone by scanning the QR code down there on the screen.
I was just going to add a little bit more pumpkin flavor into
And
there.
what were you looking for with that one? To say, hey, I want to add a little bit more.
Yeah, so this is going to bring a little bit of natural creaminess to it. So that and the color with it, I can kind of tell by the color that how much flavor is going to be brought into it. So I just want to make sure there's enough of this. And now we got this really beautiful color in it, right? And just like most risottos, we're going to finish with a little bit of butter.
Okay.
We're going to finish with a little bit of Parmesan. And a little bit of lemon juice. That's just going to help with the acidity.
Love it.
All right. So now we're going to melt that all together. You see how creamy it's getting?
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
You know, and it was interesting to see us doing this during the break. Is that like, you know, you see all those starches. You see it become this creaminess throughout the entire process.
Yep.
But if you were to cut corn, you would not have had that.
It wouldn't. It would not at all. It would. You would see a little bit less of this creaminess and more of just like individual grains, like you would when you steam rice. It wouldn't come together the right way. When you put it on the plate, it would kind of seep out this liquid instead of holding this nice creaminess to it. So while we're letting that going, we're going to take this olive oil and we're going to get that going. I like to use extra virgin olive oil for this. And we want this to get to the point where it's smoking. So let it sit for 1 second. While it's doing that, we're just going to continue stirring this. And one thing we want to do with this risotto is we just want to give it a taste, right? We just want to make sure.
What are you tasting for?
Salt, acid. A lot of acid is one of my main things I'm looking for. Just want to make sure it's balanced. So you can taste the butternut squash in there. If you weren't, then I would add more, or I'm sorry, the kabocha squash, I add more puree to it. So now that this is smoking,
Wow.
we do have our diced butternut squash. And we don't want too big of a pan for this. We want this to get kind of flat in there, let that caramelize.
So you want surface area to really kind of be your friend here.
Exactly. So before we add the Brussels to the pan, we're gonna let that go for about 30 seconds just to get those going, because they're a little bit more dense, so they'll take a little bit longer to cook. And just like everything else we do, we add a little salt, just building flavors. Okay.
Now, what's different about this squash?
So this squash is gonna be a little bit more tender, a little bit softer. The peak of season, this will have so much natural sugars to it. I mean, it'll almost be candy on its own.
Nice.
Not candy for my kids, but.
Well, I mean, nature's candy. How about that part?
Yeah, so now we're gonna add our Brussels to this pan.
Okay. And all you did here, it looks like, is you just sliced them.
Just slice them, yep. You could also cut them in half and roast them in the oven if you wanted to do that. There's a lot of different ways you can take this. You could chop them up even more. There's so many different ways that you could do this risotto. Yeah, I could take pomegranate seeds from the store. I could take different types of squash. You don't have to use butternut. There's acorn squash. I mean, there's so many different ways that you could do this. It still come out incredible. So add a little bit more salt to it. Boom, we're gonna add a little pepper to it. Now we're just letting this come together.
I love it, because to see what we're making each day on Dinner Diaz before anyone else, follow us on social media. It's where all the cool kids are at. We're at Dinner Diaz on Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. That's where our friend Susan in St. Pete found us. Hi, Susan. She saw the lasagna rotolo I made with Fox 13's Charlie Belcher and said, I will print it and add it to my Dinner Diaz favorites book. Susan, that's super. You even drew it out like that? Susan, that is so cool. That is so cool. I love that. Susan, Chef David's is another one that you're going to want to print for your book. I'm telling you, you already had page 1 of it with your other dish that you had done before with the grouper on the goal. Now we got this one. I'm telling you, back-to-back pages right there.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it.
That's great. So we haven't shooken the pan too much. We really, like I was saying, want to sit there and get some caramelization. So now that has, watch, when we flip that, oh yeah.
Yeah, everything's really starting to really come through now.
Now we're getting that. So now that that's finishing up, it's time to plate.
Awesome.
Cool. So we're gonna use this plate up here.
Get a little more area to work here. How about that?
And we're just gonna scoop some of this out. I like to kind of make a little circle in the middle of the plate. And then one of my tricks, just for plating purposes, to make it look nice, let's give it a little shake.
Now that just allows it for just a nice area for it to really kind of flatten itself just a little bit.
Yep. Now that we got these beautifully roasted vegetables, I mean, look at that caramelization.
The smells of this has been absolutely fantastic. Look at that smell right there. Oh my gosh.
Now we're talking. So we're just gonna take this and put it over the top.
That looks stunning.
Now my favorite part is the Fresno chilies. So depending on how much heat you can handle, that's how much you want to put on there. If you can't handle a lot of heat, then maybe even just chop them up and put them in smaller increments on them.
Okay.
But we're just gonna throw there, and then there we go.
Everything so beautifully balanced, the colors out of this world, fantastic. When we come back after the break, we'll find out how fantastic these fall flavors taste ahead on Dinner Diaz. Welcome back to Dinner Diaz. Chef David Laser Benstock is with us today for a return visit to share how he makes the most of the most beautiful season in my book, fall. With a seasonal recipe of roast pumpkin puree, which we blended into a risotto, topped with pan-seared squash, Brussels, and finished with Fresno pickles, and we made it all from scratch. Dude, this is a work of art. And
yeah,
I mean,
I'm excited.
You know, what's so beautiful about this too is that it doesn't have to be loaded with an animal protein.
Yeah.
You've kept it vegetarian friendly. If you want to add anything to it, you certainly can. But there is just a beauty in celebrating great fall vegetables.
Exactly, exactly. And this is really light for fall. And there's so many different combinations you can do, you know, with the fall, adding pomegranates and different chilies or different vegetables, celery root, parsnips. I mean, you can go crazy with it.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's go right into this.
So you get the caramelization, which really brings that fall into play.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And you get all that creaminess. Doing the risotto right.
Exactly.
Not losing flavor. Every little bit of it is there.
Yep.
You get acid.
And my favorite part's the pickled Fresnos. I mean, they really, like by themselves, they're really spicy. When you blend them with all of this, I mean, it is a perfect balance.
I just got a little bit of that within that bite right there, which is a little bit of the Brussels with it. Dude, this is screaming fall, but in such a refined and really simple way to enjoy it.
And without using fall spice.
Without having to. We get the real spices, the real food, in celebrating real ingredients.
Exactly.
Dude, always a blast to have you.
Yeah,
this is
thank you so
absolutely
much.
an absolute winner. Thanks again to Chef David Laser Benstock. Grab his recipes and find a link to Il Ritorno at dinnerdeas.com. I'm Jeff Philbin. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on more Dinner Dias.